In T-minus 3, 2, 1, we begin the fun. Touring our way through the NBA from that big apple to the place by the bay. Is your mind buckled in? Because it's time to begin. Sekou and his friends are doing it again. The Hang Time Podcast is the spot, so sit back, relax, because the show's about to drop.
Welcome into another edition of the Hang Time Podcast. I'm your host, Sekou Smith, here in the studio in Atlanta, and we got a guest live in the building. My man Anthony Morrow, you know him from his days at Georgia Tech and in the NBA, a sharpshooter. NBA career that spanned years, man, different teams, different places. We finally get him in the studio here to talk about all of that and more, the basketball life of Anthony Morrow here on the Hang Time Podcast. Hey, Mo, what's up, man?
Sekou, what's going on, man? Thanks for having me, bro.
Man, I'm good. I'm glad you're finally here, man. We crossed paths in all these hallways all these years.
Yeah.
You know, people don't get a chance to slow down and really have deep conversations, man. And I know you doing your own podcast, so I appreciate you stepping out a little bit and joining ours, man. First and foremost, we're talking about the NBA here in 2020.
Mm-hmm.
Post All-Star break, all the things that have gone on in the last month.
Yeah.
David Stern passing away.
Yeah.
Kobe Bryant suddenly, and his daughter and 7 other people passing away. It's been a tumultuous stretch for the NBA ecosystem, and just in terms of these shocks to the system, man. What has that been like, the interactions you've had with guys you played with over the years, conversations you might have had during All-Star Weekend just about where everybody is right now in their careers and their lives?
Yeah. Obviously it's been sad. Rest in peace, David Stern. Obviously, rest in peace, Kobe Bryant and Gigi and the other 7 people involved and their families. It's been a weird. I mean, I was at All-Star. I didn't really interact at a whole lot of events, but just with the people I saw and the interactions I saw, I feel like guys are a lot more. I think it's brought a lot of guys more closer together. You know, just in terms of the way, I've seen just so much love shown throughout the guys and even just the NBA family. We talking about coaches and other people's families of guys. It's just it's been more of an intimate relationship and atmosphere. I felt that when I was in Chicago, and I feel like that's important. It's sad that those tragedies happen like that, and then it brings people closer together. But it just says a lot about the NBA's they've handled it as well as they can in terms of the tributes, and even with the All-Star format for Kobe and just the love they've shown for David Stern and the families involved. So, the NBA it's a tight-knit family. It's a tight-knit, kind of like fraternity.
Yeah.
And, when stuff like that happens, man, everybody kind of draws closer together. So it's dope to see that, but just God bless everybody, man.
No question. It's been weird. It's just been like a surreal feeling.
Mm-hmm.
And All-Star was the first time I think we got that whole community in one spot. So it kind of brought back all of that stuff, man.
Yeah.
But it got me to thinking about careers, and I sat down and talked with some vets, some legends, Tim Hardaway Sr., Dave Cowens, just some old heads.
Yeah.
To pick their brain. Yeah, just to pick their brains about what the game looks like to them now in retrospect, what it looks like in that rear view. Yours is a lot closer, obviously.
Yeah.
I mean, you just were in the midst of this thing. Mm-hmm. And I'm wondering, what does the league landscape look like to you right now with that power shift in L.A. with LeBron and AD, Kawhi and Paul George with the Clippers, kind of that dividing line, them out west, and then Giannis and Embiid and some of these other young stars in the East, man. What's the balance look like to you as a player, from your perspective in terms of where the power lies in the league right now?
I think it's just as competitive as I've seen it. In terms of the landscape in general, in terms of the talent, it's more back to the duos now. You got Ben and you got Joel, you got Katie and Kyrie, and it's not just in the West; it's in the East as well. You got Giannis and whoever, Chris Middleton. It don't even matter with him, right. So I mean, I think the parity is great. I think it's they only put about 8 teams on ESPN and TNT, but all of those games are exciting regular season games, and that's something the NBA's always kind of struggled with is keeping our attention during the regular season. You know, the average fan. And I think with the duos now, you got Kemba and you got Jason Tatum. You know, of course, you got those powerhouses out there in L.A. But I think it's more spread out. You know, and then it's even some of the teams that we thought would be bad, they've done well in the draft. And we want to see Memphis because Ja is playing for Memphis. We want to see New Orleans to see what Zion's going to do. You know, so I think that that's a good sign for the NBA. You know, even Phoenix, we want to see Phoenix more, see Devin Booker. Yeah. You know, so it's a lot of teams that's on the brink, and it's a lot of teams right now that you know, I don't just give LA the clear cut championship. Right. You know, I mean, you can watch Milwaukee, and they just as exciting as watching the Clippers or the Lakers, or you know. So I think it's good. I think it's moving in the right direction. It's a good balance with vets and young players and the young up and coming players that we're gonna see develop for the next 10 to 15 years. So it's good.
Yeah. You, man, just looking at your own path to the league, you know, Mr. Basketball in high school in North Carolina.
Should have got it twice.
You know? Wait a minute. Who stole your other one?
I forgot. Whoever, no, he deserved it. I think it was, man, it might have been Curtis Withers, I think. But he's like a Charlotte legend. And then he went to UNC Charlotte after that.
Okay, yeah.
He was great. He went to West Charlotte. So shout out to he'll be happy to hear I shouted him out, man. That's my guy.
No doubt. But Mr. Basketball, you know, in high school, Charlotte Latin School, right?
Yep.
I mean, which is, you know, you didn't go to one of these basketball powerhouse factory. You didn't go to IMG, you know, with Oak Hill. You stayed home and did it. Then you go to Tech and spend 4 years, which is another rarity. Dudes don't spend 4 years in school no more.
Yeah.
Even if they're good enough to come out after the first couple of years or the first year, you know, you look at a guy that stays 4 years and it's usually a reason. Like, well, why would a guy stay 4 years?
Yeah.
So you take that long grind, then you take the hard grind to the league, undrafted, but then you carve out this long career for yourself, man. What was that like? When was the point when you realized I'm pursuing this basketball dream until I'm done, until it flickers out?
Really after Tech, because it was like a decision. And Coach Hewitt, I remember Coach Hewitt calling me and saying, "Hey, look, man, you want to just get a job? You know, don't worry about this basketball shit stuff." You know, and I was like, "Man, nah, I gotta go, man. I gotta try it, man. You know what I'm saying? I gotta take a chance on myself because, I mean, I feel like I don't work so hard." And I know I can play overseas. Yeah. Like, it's not even a question. Yeah. So I wasn't really so much thinking about the NBA. It's just, shout out to my agent, Wallace Prather. And, you know, he put me in some positions to have some opportunities. And I was like, I just need a shot. Yeah. You know, I was standing, the gym right over here across the street. You know, you said you saw Iman jogging down the street.
Yeah, I saw him jogging up the street.
He got that from me, man.
Right.
I used to do that all the time. Like, I used to lead the gym. And if I couldn't get a police escort at 2 o'clock in the morning, because the stinger, the transportation system on campus would be done by that time. Right. So I would go in at 11 o'clock, come out of there at 1:30, 2 o'clock in the morning, and just jog back to my dorm over there off whatever it is down there now, 10th Street. And, you know, it was just stuff like that. I just fell in love with the grind after I got out. Right. So I was like, you know, for this, whatever this span of time, 2 months or whatever before the draft, I just locked myself in that the sweatbox gym down there, and was like, man, I'm just gonna pray and work, man. You know, wherever I land. I actually signed to go to Ukraine for like $80,000, and I was like, I'm cool with that. I had a daughter on the way, you know what I'm saying? Baby mom was driving me crazy, and I was like, man, I just want to make sure I get something solidified, so I can just take care of my daughter and my family and all that. And I ended up getting a couple opportunities with the Miami Heat and Orlando Summer League, and then with the Warriors. Yeah. And just, you know, just kicked that door down. Once I got my foot in the door, I was like, okay, I got to do whatever it takes to stay, to the point where Sidney Moncrief and Keith Smart came to me before training camp. Hey, man, we see you. You know, there's cameras all in here. Yeah. I was staying in a hotel connected to the practice facility. Right. So it was like 2 o'clock, or it'd be like 11, 12 o'clock at night. I'm like, I may as well go to the gym.
Get some shots, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I ain't doing nothing here but playing Xbox, and I got to be in the gym, you know, so I get my little key card, go up there, hit the weights, go in there, get on the gun and shoot, get 300-400 makes up, And it was like, training camp coming up. You ain't never been through no NBA training camp. You need to chill.
Yeah.
You only got a few days left, these tour days. And I said, I called my mom and them. I was like, yo, man, I'd rather them tell me chill than you need to work harder or something, so.
Do you think it's it was kind of fate that you would go to a team like the Warriors to start out that values what you bring to the table? I mean, you're a 6'5" guy with a dead-eye shot. Everybody knows that. You get the ball in a space to shoot it, it's going up. So maybe it feels like almost like that was fate, that you would end up there starting out.
I thank God every day for it, man.
Yeah.
Because Don Nelson was one of those guys that he wanted to find diamonds in the rough. He took pride in, my situation, Kalina Azubuike, C.J. Watson, drafting Steph, so high when people, you didn't really know what Steph was going to be. So he took pride in that, man, but he was also one of those guys that it was almost like a built-in confidence he had for you, and it was something that rubbed off. That was like one of his biggest gifts, I felt like.
Yeah. That's
why he's so great. But, yeah, definitely. I mean, that was a great opportunity for me because at that time, the three-point shot wasn't what it is now.
Yeah.
So, if I shot 4 or 5 threes a game, that's a lot for a rookie coming off the bench, at that time. So, yeah, I mean, he respected the work, man. He respected you if you was in the gym. He was gonna give you every opportunity if you was taking your craft seriously. He was gonna give you every opportunity. So, shout out to Coach Nelson out in Hawaii right now.
Yeah, I know what he's doing out there chilling.
Yes, sir.
You mentioned Wallace Prather, your agent, is a guy I've known for a long time.
Yeah,
he's been around this game at every level for a long time. When you're going through the process of figuring out how to attack the NBA from that alternate route, how important is it to have an agent who understands what that grind is? Because I would imagine you could get with somebody who's used to coming in a certain way and they would give you advice that would lend itself to really just one track.
Yeah.
But having Wallace, it would seem like he would understand it's more than one way of doing this thing.
Yeah. Yeah. He was, I mean, we had we were cool before I even knew he was an agent. I always tell people it's kind of funny, like, he was around, not on he was playing pickup, with the guys. And I just was like, yo, who was the dude with all that hair, man? This short, stocky dude looking crazy out here fouling everybody, man.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It was like, oh, he went to Cornell. He an agent. I'm like, him?
Yeah.
It was like, yeah. And from then on, we got closer over the years just in terms of, just advice, even like working out and stuff like that. And, he one of those guys, he demands, he expects a lot out of you. But he's always watching. Like, he was always making sure I was in the gym, and then to the point where he would just show up and know I would be in there, So it was like kind of like a family type situation for us, and I felt just comfortable. And then, after my first couple years in Golden State, I started getting those super agents and agencies like, yo, you need to, and I stayed down, you know what I'm saying? Because I said, man, they're going to take care of me. I'll figure it out. I'm not going to get this far because none of them believed in me. Right. He was the only one that believed in me. I didn't have, like, agents knocking down my door right out of tech, So, he was a guy that believed in me. But I think, it was important for him to see the work ethic and see the approach to the game and them late nights in the gym and early mornings in the weight room and all that kind of stuff. He saw that. So I felt comfortable with going with him, and still got a dope relationship today. So it was cool.
I've never understood this. You haven't lived it and done it. You could maybe explain it to me. Why is Atlanta not more of a hotbed for NBA players to come play for the team here? Like, they never make big splashes in free agency.
Yeah.
But then you look up and you walk around this town, and I'm telling you, you can't go 2 steps without bumping into an NBA player, past, present, or maybe future, in the city of Atlanta. Why is it such a magnet for players when they're not playing for the local team, not playing for the Hawks, but then not a hot destination when free agency cranks up?
To me, it's the weirdest thing because Atlanta, I don't understand that at all. It's not like it's a terrible ran organization. They've had some blunders in the past.
Yeah.
But, right now, it's just, I think it may be players just don't, it's not easy to hoop and live here.
Really?
With money,
right,
and status and fame. It's like it's not that
too much.
It's not. Yeah, it's a lot. I mean, I could tell. It's a lot unless you used to being here. Like Josh didn't have any problem in Atlanta because he's from here.
Right.
He could fit right in. Regardless of what anybody thinks, he's one of the first guys in the gym. Like,
right.
You know what I'm saying? So he was used to it. But some guys, I feel like it's hard for them, lifestyle wise, to live here and play here. Like I always said, and it's no disrespect to anybody, before like Trey can be that now, but they ain't had no real superstar since Dominique.
Right.
So that drought in between there, I think it just left a certain taste in superstars' mouths about coming to Atlanta and playing. And it showed you how important the draft is. No disrespect to Marvin, but they took Marvin with that second pick and could have got Chris.
Yeah.
And that could have changed the complexity of your entire organization for the next 10, 12, 15 years.
No question.
So I think it's like stuff like that. You can't miss in the draft. That was an important draft for them, and they missed it. They never had the opportunity again until, like, they got Trey.
Good point.
So you got to lock Trey in. But I think the organization on the way up, though, man. They think they got Clint now, right? Clint Capella.
Yeah, got Capella at the trade deadline.
Yeah. So I think they fit right in with how the NBA, the game is going.
Growing up in Charlotte, they had their own NBA environment over there. They had their own team, obviously.
Yeah.
So you have a different kind of, and I know people connect Atlanta and Charlotte kind of like Charlotte is Atlanta light, or the diet version of Atlanta.
Yeah.
Not as much traffic, not as much crazy. But what is that Carolina basketball culture like? Because I know that college, that Tobacco Road atmosphere is thick.
Absolutely.
In Charlotte and in the Carolina.
Yeah. College, I mean, like, we look at ourselves like we the blue blood state. We got Duke, Carolina, Wake Forest, NC State. Like, the culture there is, is heavy.
Yeah. From
a collegiate standpoint, and we take pride in that, obviously. You're either a Duke fan or a Carolina fan. It's like split down the middle in North Carolina, And, from the NBA standpoint, we haven't recovered from when George Shinn sold us to New Orleans.
Right.
It ain't been the same.
Yeah,
like, and then when they came back, like, I always thought, like, when they went back to the Hornets,
right,
they didn't go back to the same logo. I'm like, go back to that logo.
Right.
The goofy Hornet, but like, go back to that. Don't give me this new shit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, so it's just never really recovered.
Yeah.
We keep getting the same draft picks, like the 9th, 10th, 11th pick, but you can't really do anything with that pick.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it's the NBA culture. I always said, and I told Fred Whitfield this, I went to the NBA leadership in Vegas, the program, and he said, I know you from Charlotte. Yeah. I'm not going to ask you what I'm asking these other guys. He said, if I gave you a job in community relations, what would you do? I said, you got to go back to the real neighborhoods in Charlotte. Like, I know y'all going to go to the suburbs because those were the season ticket holders at. Yeah. But you got to go to the real city where people can't afford that and just get them excited about basketball again in Charlotte. So it's not, it's just a misconnect. It's a disconnect right now. But I think it'll get back to somewhere close to what it was.
That's interesting. You having those roots, and then you played in a couple places.
Yeah.
You played in Golden State before they popped, like before they hit and took off. You played in Oklahoma City at a really interesting time.
Yeah.
When they were trying to figure out who they were going to be.
Yeah.
In their next iteration. And dealing with Russ and that organization. What was that like? Seeing how everything broke down for Oklahoma City with the, they didn't just lose James Harden. Yeah. They had Serge Ibaka, James, Russ, and KD on as their young core at one point.
Yeah.
All of them have gone on to bigger and better things, MVPs, championships. Yeah. But what was, I can't imagine what that would have been like, either being there at the time or in the aftermath.
Yeah.
Like when it was coming apart.
Yeah, I got there with James wasn't there anymore. But it was definitely, I always say that was like the peak of my career almost. My first year for sure. And with OKC. But it was definitely, it was a special team. It's a special city. It's a special organization. And you know, man, it was like a movie. It could be like a great 30 for 30. And I was only there for 2.5 years.
Right.
And I was like, man, this is like, it seemed like I've been here for 20 years with all the drama and, you know, the stuff that was going on. But, you know, I always tell people, man, like, I think that they all appreciated where they were in their careers then and where they are in their careers now. They all needed that period together, and they kind of grew up together in the NBA. And I feel like they all kind of outgrew each other, man. Yeah. You're talking about 4 guys where you say they got, you know, multiple MVPs and finals MVPs, championship. All of them got championship, you know, except for James. But, I mean, it's just the success that they've had after that period of their careers. I think they all needed that. It's just unfortunate they couldn't win it in OKC, you know, because they had to go through the Lakers and the Spurs and all these things, you know, when they were younger. Yeah. But, yeah, it was a special time, man, and it was a great organization. I got a lot of open shots. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, you go get some buckets.
I'm trying to tell you, man, it was special. It was dope, man. I'm proud of all those guys.
When you think about, you said that you felt like that was the peak of your career, one stretch in Oklahoma City, but you had other seasons where you had more, you know, you scored more, you did more things. When were you at your most comfortable? And I don't mean just on the court. When did you feel like, all right, through all this, I've been, you know, I've arrived. Like I got to this point where I got the respect of my peers. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? The league knows what I can do and what I'm about. What was that moment in time for you? When was that?
I would say after my second year, when I signed with New Jersey, like my first like multi-year deal. Yeah, that's when I really felt like, you know, I'm solidified. You know, you're starting to get the respect of those guys that you had Slam magazine posters of on your wall. They finally having conversations with you on the court, right? Because you know them guys, like my guys, like. I was, you know, like Kobe, Ray Allen, and Paul Pierce, and those guys. I grew up watching D-Wade. They don't say nothing to you until they, like, kind of respect you. You know what I'm saying? When you start getting, like, comments and little chit-chat with them on the court, you kind of appreciate that kind of stuff. But, yeah, it's probably when I signed with New Jersey. You know, I felt like, all right, now people going to know, you know, I'm on the scouting report for real. Yeah. You know, and that just drove me to work harder because I was like, I want to stay feeling like this. You know, and barring injury, had some injuries and stuff, obviously, but you know, it was definitely probably that time.
Do you look back and have any regrets about what you did or didn't do, opportunities that you did pursue, didn't like? And I know it's you know, you probably need more distance to really examine it. But do you look back and say, man, if I'd have did this or I'd have went there, I'd have.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say regrets. It's teams that I wish I would have signed with at the time. But you got to go where the money at, basically, you know. And I, like with Jersey, I didn't want to go to Jersey because I wanted to stay in Golden State because I felt established there, and I wanted to play there forever, obviously. But I was cool with going to Jersey because I liked Avery Johnson, and you know I wanted to be with something that was new and fresh. Yeah. So, but that was like, I didn't really want to go there. Like, I had to go to the press conference. I'm like, yo, we in L.A. I'm in Vegas. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to go back to the Bay. And they're like, yeah, Jersey called. And I was hyped. And then I realized, damn, I got to go to the Meadowlands. You know what I'm saying? So it was like, I had to get on a plane. I had to go to Men's Warehouse and get a suit and get on a plane. And it was raining. And I had my cousin and my pops with me and my homegirl. And I'm like, man, bro, I hope they match this offer somehow. Yeah. They're like, nah, it's over. You're going to do a press conference. I'm like, all right, cool. It is what it, but, you know, that was one. But then, like, OKC was somewhere I was really excited to go. Right. You know, because that felt like a new energy. The year before, I was in New Orleans for a year, and I got back to, like, top 5 in three-point percentage. Started really working on my body. I was getting older. Yeah. I mean, I wasn't that old, but I was working on my body, conditioning. So I was like, I can't get hurt no more, you know. Yeah. So I established myself back with New Orleans, and then I got that 3-year deal with OKC, and I was like, all right, I needed this second one, and we got a chance to win a championship. Yeah. So it was fun, man. It was the most locked-in, funnest team I had probably played on in my life. Yeah.
When I'm trying to think, too, and what does this do to a family? Like you mentioned, having your pops and
Man.
you got this extended network of people that they've been invested in you from the time you start dribbling the ball.
Yeah.
Mom and dad, brothers and sisters, friends, relatives. What does that do to that dynamic once you continue to travel up the basketball food chain like that? Like you go to college, I seen it. It changes people's outlook on how they view it. Because you going and you playing at a Division I school, that means you playing on scholarship, but you also are going to places that your family might not have been before.
Yeah.
And I mean just general travel. I had a cousin that played back in the 90s, early 90s. He played at Purdue with Glenn Robinson. It was like from our little hometown where he was a big deal to going to college, it turned into, whoa.
Yeah.
Like, you go to an NCAA tournament game in Knoxville, and it's like the crowd and the atmosphere, everything changes. How did that change for your family?
I mean, it was cool. Like, I felt like my family started understanding that when I was in high school. Mm-hmm. Like, nah, he's going somewhere. Like, and then when I committed to Tech early, and I mean, it was definitely a transition from that feeling at Georgia Tech. They like, yo, bro, gonna be on ESPN tonight against Duke.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So it was a pride. Like, but like you said, I had to get kind of distance. Like, when I got older, I really realized what that meant.
How
when
big
I
a
see
deal it was,
my little homies now, Grant Williams for the Celtics, went to Providence Day from Charlotte. Right. Davon Dotson went to Providence Day from Charlotte. When I see them at Clemson and at Tennessee, and and now Grant's with the Celtics, I'm like, that's what it felt like for them when I was there. You know what I'm saying? Right. So like, if you see it from kind of like a outside looking in, like you look at it from that perspective, you understand it more, because I was always a guy like, and even the NBA, like I've been out the NBA for 3 years now. Yeah. And I always tell people like the stories that, I get to hang with my homies now more, with my family more, Yeah. So when you sitting around with your people and they start telling stories about stuff that you done forgot. Like, you remember in 2012, bro, you had this, and this, and blah, blah. And they talk about it, and I'm like, damn, you remember that? Like, I don't even remember that. Yeah. So like in retrospect, you really can appreciate the influence and, just the love and the support that you got from your people. And I think that's probably the dopest part of being in, like, this transitional part of my life. It's like people was really, I'm like, y'all was really watching. Y'all really got that league pass with me, huh? You know what I'm saying? So it was dope, man. I loved it.
That's awesome, man. And it makes me think, too, when you start plotting that transition, as you mentioned, to this next phase, how do you, as a player, I've seen so many guys, and it's really impressive. We talked about Kobe at the outset of this podcast, a guy who, to me, was making the most masterful transition I've seen for a truly elite superstar player to turn that page into something else. And the first year out, you win an Oscar, and you start doing all the, that's, to me, that's got to be inspiring for other players. Yeah. But there's a lot of guys now going in different areas after they're done playing. Like, how do you zero in on what is going to be your next passion, not to replace what basketball was for you? Because it's all consuming, obviously. Yeah. From D1 college to the NBA, everybody knows that's an all-consuming lifestyle. Yeah. You got 8 to 9 to sometimes 11 months of your life plotted out. Yeah. Because you know what the schedule is. You know what the rigor is to get through that. Now you got all this time and space to kind of craft that next act. What did you do to formulate what you wanted to do, and how did you go about attacking it?
I really used to be excited to go to those NBA PA meetings. Mm-hmm. And I remember the first one I had in Golden State as a rookie. I played with Steven Jackson. Shout out to Stack and Matt, obviously, with All the Smoke. And Stack was in the meeting just spearheading it. Like, I got a charter school, and what about this, and what are y'all going to do for us for this? And I never looked at him like that. Like, he was always like a guy that I respected so much. I was so glad to get his respect. Obviously, he's still like a big bro to me. Yeah. And I just got more and more in tune with the career options they had for us, and just like the different guys that came in and talked about transitioning from playing to businessmen, or entrepreneurs. And I always was like, man, I know I want to do something with fashion one day, and I know I want to be a businessman. Like I didn't know what it was going to be then, but I always was just looking for different guys to talk to. I knew Devin George had a lot going on in real estate, and I would hear Corey Maggette talk a lot about business. Al Harrington would talk a lot about stuff that he was going to do because they were later in their careers, and I just always kind of just stayed around those guys just to hear what they were doing and what they had going on. And for me, I transitioned with the fashion. I got a clothing company called Own Sense of Style. I've been doing that for like 2 years, doing pretty well. And I invested in some real estate out in L.A., building houses with a group of guys out there, and storage facilities in North Carolina we invested in. So it's fun, and then I was my charities, Anthony Mall Charities, and the podcast, Just the Life Podcast, shout out to Justin. But it's all stuff I wanted to do. I always wanted to speak. I always wanted to be on, Sekou Smith's show. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I wanted to have my own thing like that. I wanted to transition and do stuff that I was still passionate about. And those are all the things that I'm passionate about. And, just staying close to those older guys that had they already had the ball rolling with that while they were playing, which is hard to do, especially when you got a family and, and all that. You got a hoop, you got a family, you got your businesses. And, those guys pretty much inspire me, man. So I want to be like that for the guys that's coming out of college or young guys in the league and help reach back and get them the game that I got.
Yeah. Do you think it's I think personally watching it over the last 20 years too, the landscape has gotten more manageable for players too, because there was a time it seemed like guys weren't, even if they were schooling you in a locker room, outside of that cocoon, outside of that bubble that is the NBA, maybe everybody wasn't as likely to see Al Harrington in a business space or to see guys in those different spaces. Does it look like it changed for you in the time you started in the league to now, just how much and how willing people are to accept former players in some of these different environments?
Man, 100%. Like, I came in the league in 2008. So even in 2008, it was more of a, they were still telling us them horror stories about guys making $100 million and they flat broke 3 years outside of the league. So it was like kind of like a transitional stage from that to what it is now. Like, it's way more knowledge. It's way more information. Guys sharing way more information with each other. They linking up and they teaming up to make moves while they're playing business-wise. And, for me, I mean, you would hear guys were successful, but you didn't know how they got there. Excuse me. And I think that it's getting even more and more better. Like, guys are younger entrepreneurs in the NBA, 20, 23, 24 years old, and they got companies already, versus you worried about how you going to do that when you're 30, like 34, 35, because you ain't playing nothing, So I think I came in right in the middle of that transition stage. And, I salute Kobe, D-Wade, and LeBron with, like, really those guys was the ones that started really talking about, you start seeing them on the restaurants and, invest. Now they got these guys investing in tech companies. Right. And, there's just a lot more opportunities out there. And I think the NBA has done well with their partnerships, and they just being open for guys, like giving guys opportunities. They're more open to it now versus, guys getting all that money. Obviously, financial literacy now is the spirit. They spearheading the NBA now. Like, you have to understand how to deal with money. And so those things have been big in the transition. And it's dope to see the younger, they're getting younger and younger with the mindset of, I want businesses and companies while I'm playing. So it's dope, man.
Last thing on that front too, do you feel like in the give back, as much as the league has changed, as much as college basketball has changed, the awareness and understanding of the bigger picture, to me, for the grassroots level cats, like when I see high school kids talking the way I heard Jaylen Brown talk when he was in high school, was jarring. Like how clear his mind was about what was coming next for him. Because these guys know a lot of times. They know now in when they're 9th and 10th graders. You hear about them. You know that they can play. The talent level is there. Mm-hmm. But it seems like now the kids understand what's at stake with every move they make, even at 15, 16. Have you seen a shift there? And do you talk to young cats? Like, I'm sure you got young kids in Charlotte trying to follow your footsteps.
Yeah.
They probably come to you wanting you to put them on to how you navigate this process.
Yeah. I mean, I think LeBron, a lot of that is LeBron. Because LeBron had that mindset at a time where most of the guys coming out of high school, you wouldn't hear him talk the way he was talking about what he wanted his career to be. And he kind of had a plan. And a lot of kids now, I think, with social media and also just how the league has been progressive in terms of embracing those young guys and making them, letting them understand, like, have a voice. And, they want to promote you being an entrepreneur or taking control of your career. And a lot of guys are doing that. And they seeing the standard. You see LeBron spearheading that. You coming out of school and you 16, 17 years old, that's the guy. You know what I'm saying? Kobe, those guys, I mean, no disrespect to the earlier, Mike and all those guys, but we didn't know what Mike was doing. We just saw that he was successful.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It's like Mike wasn't going on. It wasn't Instagram. Mike wasn't going and like, yo, come shadow me for a day with Michael Jordan. Like, he doing that now, obviously, but he wasn't doing that in 1991, 1996. If he was doing that then, guys would have had more of a, like, oh, that's what the standard is. I need to move like that.
Yeah.
We just didn't know.
Yeah.
So now I think like I said, I think it's just more of sharing of information. And like I said, the league has been really good at giving guys those opportunities. It's an individual league. It's a star-driven league. So they really want to empower the players, and guys is taking advantage of it earlier in their careers, which is, it's helping the league, and obviously it's helping guys stay in the league longer and not have to deal with not having money 3-4 years outside the league. Yeah. So it's dope.
It's a very interesting period we're in, if you ask me.
Yeah.
We're not only transitioning from a generation to the next, we're talking about decades, but I think about LeBron, D-Wade, some of these guys who have left the game. LeBron, Carmelo, CP.
Yeah.
To me, they're of that next generation. Even separating with KD and those guys, because when you 4 or 5 years separated in age, that's a generation.
Yeah.
Like, I know 17-year-old kids who think the Warriors have been the Lakers for the last 40 years, not realizing that.
Yeah, that's just
what the Warriors have done is very current and recent. What do you envision this league looks like when we move past LeBron? At some point, the Joker has got to stop playing. I know it don't seem like it right now. But at some point, the Zions, the Ja Morants, guys we talked about, these younger players, they got to step up and be the face of this league. The Luka Doncic's, the Trae Youngs. Giannis is already on the scene. Like, what does that landscape in the next few years look like to you as we transition from one group of stars, all-time great stars, to that next one?
I think it's good. We used to having like that generational changing guy.
Yeah.
Like LeBron is that for us right now. As good as these other guys are, LeBron is that. So they always going to be looking for the next that.
Yeah.
Now if Zion and Trae and all of those guys turn into and Ja, if they turn into that, then it remains to be seen. But like I was saying earlier, it's a lot of young talent and a lot of parity in the league that when LeBron does step down, the league will still be interested. Ratings might fall a little bit, whatever, but it's always going to be another one of those, like, okay, that's going to be the guy for the next 15 years. He always comes back around. I don't know when we're going to see the next Bron, but it always comes back around. But I think, the league being an individual-driven sport, it'll always be interesting. Yeah. And now, like I said, even the teams that aren't as good right now, they exciting to watch. Like, I can watch the Hawks now because I want to see Trae and John Collins and DeAndre Bembry and all those guys. I want to watch them play. It's fun to watch. It's just not very good yet.
Yeah.
So it's the league's doing a good job of, still keeping the league interesting, even outside of the Milwaukees and and the Lakers and the Clippers and all those kind of teams. So.
I remember me and my boys, we used to argue about this, and it's two guys in particular, we always still talk about it. This is years ago. It was Kobe, it was Vince Carter, and Tracy McGrady.
Yeah,
and we used to have, we used to be in the dorm.
Going crazy.
Having knockdown, drag-out arguments at our apartment, whatever. Mm-hmm. Coming to blows over which one of them was going to end up being the best player.
Yep.
And now, when Kobe gets, inducted into Hall of Fame this year, two of them will be in the Hall of Fame with Vince on the way. Mm-hmm. So all three of them ended up having all-time great careers.
Yeah.
But we had, like you mentioned, a succession plan. Whether you pass the baton or get snatched, somebody is coming after you. Mm-hmm. LeBron came for the baton before Kobe was probably ready to pass it.
Yes. Yeah.
KD tried to snatch it before LeBron was ready to pass. You know what I mean? Like, do you think, and kind of, we'll wrap it up here, but do you think that is what the lifeblood of this thing is just that competitive character that you have from guys playing? Because I tell people all the time, you got to understand, you did it, so you may not recognize this. Y'all are the 1% of the 1% on planet Earth to play this game. Yeah. Which I don't know if that resonates with the guys who play at the time. Like, everybody is out trying to play ball on the weekend. Yeah. Y'all do it as a craft. Yeah. Only a small percentage of people do that. And I'm wondering, is that what drives that 1%? Yeah. The striving to be that great player, striving to be that next guy. Mm-hmm. Whether you are or not, I would imagine that's got to be the fuel cell for guys to compete and perform at this level.
Yeah, I mean, you don't really, like I said, like we was talking about earlier, you don't really realize it because you're in
the moment. Yeah,
you in it. Like when people tell me, yo, I saw you had 25 the other night. I'm like, man, it seemed like it was 2 weeks ago. Like, you know how much done happened in the last 3 days since that game, man? Right. Like, I'm worried about you can't even sit and worry about that no more. That's over with. You know what I'm saying? So you in it, you don't really see it. But like I said, like outside of it, you really realize, like, man, the level of focus, and I was one of them guys that was like, I got to beat everybody to the gym. Like, I can't, I'll go back to the gym 10 o'clock at night, get 500-600 makes on the gun, run some sprints, lift weights. Just like, it's that kind of focus that you got to have just to be in the league. Yeah. Like, it ain't like you going to be Kobe or something. Like, right. You just got to stay. You know what I'm saying? Right. So, yeah, it's definitely, it's a mindset that you got to have, that you're like a little bit maniacal, but you know what I'm saying? Like, you got to be focused and locked in on another level when you at that level, man. I don't know any guys that play in the league that didn't have that. Yeah. So.
That's what's up. A lot of people, like I said, don't appreciate it. Yeah. I've been around so long, I'm just used to y'all and seeing this level of craftsmanship. Like, I used to think before I was up close to the NBA, I used to be like, they just talented. Everybody just out there and they're talented. Mm-hmm. Man, it's so much work.
It's a lot.
So much work involved. Now, I don't know if you can stress that enough to young people that are trying to do that, but it's like, I hope they all strap up and understand the kind of work it takes to play in the league, let alone become a star or a superstar, but just to make the league. It's such a small amount of people in the history of our planet who have done it, and I don't think we all appreciate that enough. So, look, man, I'm digging in on all you're doing now. Though I'm here for the podcast and all the business you got going on beyond basketball, man. Always good to see you.
Always.
You know that. Always good to talk to you and to have you come into the studio, man. We appreciate you taking that time. We'll definitely keep following you.
Please do, man. Thank you, man.
No doubt.
I really appreciate it.
My man, good to see you.
Stay cool, my
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
We always love having great basketball conversations here on the Hang Time Podcast. And Anthony Morrow joined us in studio for a fantastic one as always. We appreciate you, and we'll see you right here next week on the Hang Time Podcast.
This one is done, but in case you want another one, here's the link to all the fun from Sekou Smith's Hang Time Run. Check us out on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, NBA.com/hangtime, or wherever you listen to podcasts. Until next time, Hoops fans.